G'day YouTube, Jeff McPhee's Gardening, Melbourne, Australia. Have you worked your guts out, blood, sweat and tears, and really working hard? Yet through bad advice, your business is starting to stall. It's amazing what bad advice how it can affect your business. In today's video, I'm going to talk about 5 myths that I've noticed over my 40 years in business about how it can affect your business. How it can actually, I've seen some people stall. Some people get to a stage where they just can't move anymore. In today's world, everybody has got everything available to them. There's so much information out there. There's so much advice out there. And when you're starting out, you just don't know which way to go. You hop on these social media forums, these Facebook groups of all these other contractors. Some with 1 year experience, some with 40 years experience, and they've all got their opinions. And of course, their opinion is always right. And as we know that we will run businesses our own way and we run them differently. So advice needs to be taken carefully. Look, businesses do fail for other reasons, but normally through economic or drought or newbie mistakes, that can affect it. But advice, bad advice, is something really you need to keep a lookout for. Look, when you're starting out, it's not a perfect situation. And the best piece of advice that I ever received when I started out was make a decision, wear the mistake, and more importantly, learn from it. But if you don't make a decision, your business is never going to grow. And I think that's the most important advice, is to make the mistakes. But please, you know to do it. You know to learn it. You're taught that as a kid, and that's how we evolve as human beings over the years. The mistakes I've made. Look, I've made a lot of mistakes in 40 years. I'm probably still making mistakes now. Some of the advice that I put out, maybe it doesn't suit everybody, but that's something we'll talk about as we go along in the video. The first myth is paperwork is for the accountants. Just get out and mow lawns and do the gardening. Don't worry about anything else. Leave it to the accountants. Gee, I've heard that advice. I've heard that said so many times before. And a lot of people say, I hate bookwork. We all hate bookwork, of course. Unfortunately, bookwork is probably one of the most important aspects of our business. Look, having an accountant is an important thing to have. There's 2 things that I use an accountant for. One is at the end of the year, he prepares all our tax. He does the whole lot. I haven't got the skill to do it, nor would I want to do it. And the other thing is that really having an accountant doesn't put you on that little spotlight of having an audit, where a lot of people that go on their own have been subject to that. I have seen that. Now, the other thing is with an accountant is that they are good for financial advice. In other words, is your business making money? Is it going all right? They've got other businesses to compare with, so they are good for that. But as far as doing your bookwork, knowing your running costs of your business, it's so important. We go on this about all the time. We really have to know what our business is costing us, how much it's going in and how much is going out. And the only way you're going to know that is to do your own bookwork. Look, software packages these days, it's minutes of work. It's not like the olden days we used to use pencil and paper or spreadsheets. It used to take us hours, and that's when you really needed a bookkeeper. But I've found by doing my own bookwork, I understand my business. A friend of mine, he's just started up a service business, and he's got the accountant like everybody has, but he's also got the bookkeeper. Pays him $1 squillion a month, and they just send all the invoices and send all their receipts to the bookkeeper, and they put it through the system, and he hasn't got a clue what's going on. He keeps asking me, Jeff, he says, how do I know how much I'm making, or what's my wages? How much should I be taking out in wages? And all these questions. Had he have done his own bookwork, he would understand how the business works. And I think that is one of the key advices to look out for, is to think about doing your own bookwork. Obviously, if you're getting big and you're growing and you've got lots of employers, sure, you're going to need a bookwork because it's going to be too time consuming. But when you're starting out, understanding costs is just as important as mowing, having good mowing techniques or being a good gardener. You've got to charge an hourly rate. better than quoting. You can make heaps of money that way. Heard that time and time again. And hourly rates, look, when you're starting out, the first temptation is to go on hourly rate because you haven't got a clue how long it's going to take you. But take the hedge, for example. You've quoted the client whatever your hourly rate's going to be. You might say $60 an hour. And it's taken you 3 hours and there's $180 to do the hedge. You do that hedge regularly and after a while you're getting more efficient, you're getting faster, and it's only going to take you 2 hours. So now you're only getting paid $120, so you're getting paid less. So for being more efficient and working harder, you're getting paid less because you're charging an hourly rate. Had you charged that $180 as a fixed price, yes, you might not know that at the start, but you will learn. That fixed price is going to be $180 whether it takes you an hour or 3 hours, because your efficiency is going to make your business grow. The other thing with hourly rates is it's very hard to give a price rise to a customer to say that, look, from now on the hourly rate will be an extra whatever it is an hour. And the client, you keep reminding the client what they're paying you as an hourly rate. And of course what happens is that they say, well, my husband's an engineer and he doesn't get paid that much. Well, that's what happens. And whereas if you want to increase your fixed price, I found it's a lot easier to do it that way. So, bit of food for thought. Just check the advice twice about the hourly rate. You'll learn through your mistakes, and as you get better, you'll start nailing those fixed price. So hourly rates, not so sure that's the way to go. Myth number 3, how's this one? You're just the mower man. Here we go. Yes, you're the mower person, you're just the gardener. Having that attitude and taking on that attitude, and it is fine for the people that have got a secondary income, or their wives are working or they've got all their bills paid off and they just want a few extra dollars a week. That's a perfect life. Yeah, good on you. But for most of us, it's got to pay a mortgage and got to bring kids up, got to pay the bills and perhaps want to grow. We've got to run that mower man business as a business, not just the mower man. They were in the archive days of being the mower man, being the mower person, someone at the bottom of the barrel. We run it as a business. Like we talked about, knowing our running costs, this is so important when you're running a business. You're running a business as a professional and you're providing professional services as a business. And you'll be treated as a business and you'll be paid so much better as a business. You're not just getting paid for your worth, your appearance and your hard blood, sweat and tears. You're getting paid as a business. So that's another piece of advice that I've seen a lot of people have that mindset of just being the mower man, and they'll never get off the bottom because it's just one of those things. I've seen a lot of people that taken on the business and they've grown to great heights. And whether you're going to be great heights or whether you're going to be just a small business, you are a business. Number 4, profit, people say, is what's left over at the end. Yeah, well, there you go. How many people have that? They added up all their at the end of the year, the accountant said, "Oh, look, you've made so much money." Well, you really haven't made so much money. All it's done as a sole operator. We're not talking companies or sophisticated business structures, but a standard, partnership or solo operation. You take all the expenses out, and what's left over, that's what they call that profit. Some people, it's not, because you've got to take your wages out of it. And the thing is, what's left over after all that will be profit. So the important thing that I'm trying to get at is price for profit. In other words, when you do a quote, you price for a profit. So you're taking, obviously, all your business costs and your wage, and you're adding in a percentage for profit. And taxes, of course, we all got to do that. The percentage of profit varies. Some people charge 10, 20, 30%. I've seen some operators up to 50%. I'm normally 20 to 30. That's worked for me. Look, it might not work. That might be too high for some. It might not be high enough for others. You will find the sweet spot in that aspect. But the thing is, what's left over is not profit. It's after all the expenses, all your wages. Grow big, grow fast, they say. That's the only way to do it. Nothing else counts. You're never going to be successful if you grow big and grow fast. Look, some people do it. Some people do it well, and some people get there. But there's a hell of a lot of work when you do it. A lot of businesses trip up because they're putting too much capital into the business. They haven't got enough work to support it. You've got to put it on employees. Finding employees is not as easy as it used to be. And an employee is not just another tool that you use in your arsenal. Employee is a valuable commodity where that you use them to run your business. You know, hopefully one day you can work off the tools and they can run it for you. But the thing is, having good employees takes a lot of work. Training, you know, motivation, paying them well, you know, watching their progress and helping them and making part of the business. And it's hard to do, and to find the right person is getting so much harder these days. Everyone's got different requirements on what they want to do in life. So growing big, growing fast requires employees, it requires a lot of capital injection. So it requires perhaps finance, obviously, if you're going to grow big and grow fast. Where a lot of people get tripped up in growing fast and big is that they forget about their bread and butter items, the small stuff that's kept them going. Even in my small business, I always have a core of bread and butter operations that keep us going when things don't go well. You know, the weather, the climatic conditions, the economic conditions, etc. We go on and on. And it's important to have that bread and butter clientele, that bread and butter, that work that keeps us going, that pays. You know, we've got to pay employees through the quiet times. Growing big, growing fast, it takes time. It can't be fast. Growing big, yes, I've got not a problem, but it can't be done quickly. It's got to be done strategically. Something to think about. So you're protecting your lawn care business. It's a bit more than just having an insurance and sharp mower blades and having all the right equipment. It's about the advice that you're given. It's about analysing the advice, taking each piece of advice and thinking about it. Does that make sense? Ask other people about that advice. Don't just take it on board because someone says that's the way you've got to do it. It's either my way or the highway, and that's not the case anymore. Look, we all run our businesses differently, as I said before. We've all got different little bits and pieces in our lives that it affects us. So every piece of advice, you have to be so careful. You have to analyse it and just think about it. But at the end of the day, the best advice is learn from your mistakes. And learn from your mistakes, you're going to do so much better because you will know what to do the next time. Best piece of advice I'm going to give you, those myths are something that I've come across, but the best piece of advice that I'll give anybody is trust your gut instinct. It's surprising what your gut instinct does. You've analysed all the advice and you've looked around, but if it don't feel right, just think about it. Your gut will tell you whether it's the wrong way or the right way. I've got through many good decisions through. Oh, look, I've stuffed up, of course, and I've learned. But gut instinct, I reckon that's the best piece of advice. Viewers, thanks for watching. Please share and like and provide your comments. Look, there's probably another 20-30 different myths going around, and the video would take hours if I went through them all. But those are the 5 main ones that I've found that affect people, and in some cases affected me when I did it the wrong way. See you on the next one. Bye bye.